Alright, got some progress here. Just to demonstrate the problem, this module's plugged into channel 10, or slot 10, and so when I do this with the fader, this is what the meter does, jumps around from the noise artifacts from the oscillation. And these are, well, starting here down to here is the EQ section. So we've got the function that dumps the EQ, post-EQ signal to the monitor bus, and when that's switched, it takes its input from the pre-monitor section, runs it through the EQ, and then dumps the output to the post-monitor. And then we've got a low-pass filter and two high-pass filters, and then this is the bypass function, essentially a mute section on the EQ, just a hard bypass. So down here, this connector has the from the stereo bus and to the stereo bus, from the EQ, or I'm sorry, to the monitor bus and from the monitor bus. And when we probe those, so this is from stereo, I get nothing. If we switch that to the output from the EQ board to the stereo bus, we get that. If I probe the output to the monitor bus, again, nothing. And from the monitor bus, again, nothing. So it's outputting from the EQ board to the stereo bus, and I've confirmed that that is to and not from, because if we go down here and probe the fader, which is this connector here, we get the same thing. That's the input to the fader, and I can further confirm that by pulling this 2-pin connector, one of which comes from the EQ board, white wire, and I can probe. Let's see, I need to ground this. So if I probe that pin that comes from the EQ board, there we have our oscillation, and now I can probe the fader input, and there's nothing. Okay, so it's definitely coming from the EQ board and is not coming into the EQ board. So it would seem that it is generating from the EQ board. And then we can do one of three things to kill the problem until the board is power cycled. We can, so here I'm probing the output to the stereo bus oscillation. So we can simply unlatch the bypass, opening up the EQ, and now I'm probing that same output to the stereo bus, and no problem. We can bypass it again, no problem. It kills the problem until the board is power cycled. So we'll do that. And then I found two more things that I can do to kill the problem as well. Okay, again, we're looking at the output to the stereo bus. It's oscillating. If I dump the EQ to the monitor bus, now we find the oscillation on the output to the monitor bus, and no longer on the output to the stereo bus. And still, it's also not present on either of the inputs to the EQ board, either from the monitor PCB or the stereo PCB. But the oscillation is still there on the output to the monitor bus. Unlatch the EQ to monitor function. We would think it might go back to the stereo bus. Nope, it's gone. So that also kills the problem. The third thing I found I can do, so I'm power cycling again, is to engage the low pass filter. So okay, board has been power cycled, I'm probing the output to the stereo bus, there's our oscillation. So high pass filter doesn't do me anything. The second high pass filter, same thing, doesn't help me at all. The low pass filter, as soon as I engage that, problem is gone. And it doesn't return even when it's disengaged. So that kills it immediately. So, clues.